minutes. 13 minutes, they gave up.
Yeah, that one was much simpler. He got a better can opener. He says he had to find another one. He says the other opener was old. It wasn't his fault that he was struggling. But we've all been there, right? Where sometimes you do try to use an old can opener, and the blade on it is dull because you've used it so many times.
I'm with Tyrese because I don't remember when it was, probably my early college years, the first time I got one of those. And if it's not quite set up the same way, you just keep spinning it, it doesn't work.
Or it starts cutting the wrong section of the can.
If it's not quite set the right way and you've never done it before. Now, luckily, I didn't post a video like that, but I had no idea.
I love that he did that, though. It was just him being vulnerable, like literally, please
Did people help him or no?
Yeah, he should have asked Grok, right?
He should have asked Grok.
He should have asked Grok.
Yeah, he should have.
Yeah, I assume in 13 minutes he probably had a lot of Instagram followers.
I just like the ones where you press it and it kind of goes around.
Yes, that's the automatic ones. Yeah. That's probably what Garrett Weimer has, I'm guessing.
I think Garrett has somebody at his house that does that for him. He's got like a butler.
Right. No, I have an old-fashioned one, just like those ones he was holding up. I used to have one of the automatic ones. They break, and I didn't want to replace it. It's just a lot easier, I think, if you know how to use it. I guess I should say a lot easier just to use the handheld one.
All right, we took a lot of your time, Garrett. We're so sorry. What do you got for us?
That's okay. Coming up on Fox 35 News Plus, we're going to take you inside this FWC meeting, talking about the black bear hunt. A lot of controversy about that. 168 people signed up for public comment, so that is going on now, and we're also going to check in with Randy Hildreth, who is there. So join us at 11 for Fox 35 News Plus.
All right,
Garrett, good stuff. We don't do polls, but I would say just the majority, maybe 80% of the people I've heard from don't want the bear hunt to happen, but it appears it might be moving forward.
Yeah, it looks like it. And even the attorney that Stephanie spoke to earlier said that she does believe that they probably will pass it. It's a 2-day meeting. And interestingly, California is actually having the exact same debate right now in their state, which is fascinating.
More than a dozen states have these bear hunts, so we'll see. Time for a break. Time for our break. In fact, we're going to Garrett. So we are finished for the day. We've done it. We did a full hour.
Yeah, we're done.
Good job.
This is it. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
See you tomorrow.
I thought we were about to come back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. Want to get you straight in to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, where Governor Ron DeSantis and Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins are speaking to reporters right now. DeSantis was there to talk more about law enforcement recruitment bonuses. He just began taking questions, answering the first question right now. It was about the kind of what he looked at and the criteria for selecting Jay Collins as lieutenant governor. He made that appointment yesterday. Collins was sworn in. DeSantis saying he wanted someone who would not shy away from the fight. And so let's go ahead and listen in as Governor DeSantis speaks live right now in Tampa.
It's going to be very exciting. Well, Casey DeSantis' thoughts have always been people have asked her to do things because they know she's a dynamic speaker, very eloquent, very accomplished. But I said at the beginning when people were doing that, that's not anything she's has ever outwardly sought. She's really happy making a difference. And when we just did the cancer announcements with massive funding for pediatric cancer research, so I don't think it's necessarily change anything with her per se. But I think from the beginning until now has always been a lot of people hey, can you get her to do it? Can you get her to do it? Kind of deal. She just wants the state to do well. She wants to see continued success on overhauling how we approach helping people in need, which she's been a pioneer in, continuing to do things to help school children, to help moms, really, really important. But I don't think anyone who's been in that position has made more of an impact than she has. And I will tell you, yesterday, after going through all that, she was really, excited and inspired with what we saw yesterday when Jay was announced. She's going to be serving, continuing to help make a difference, in one way or another. But I mean, the thought around her has always been, more exterior, with people telling her she has to do all those things, which is funny because you see kind of, the different stuff that gets percolated out there. And then, I'm getting ready to leave, and what is she doing? Taking the kids to the first day of school, kindergarten, second grade, and third grade. And so we're always up for adventures. Next.
There's a protest in St. Pete about DOJ today. What's your thoughts on it?
What are they protesting?
I guess they don't like DOJ.
Well, look, Floridians have seen their property tax bills go up. That's not the state. I was announcing all these tax breaks. Well, why didn't, I just got my property tax. But, well, that's not coming from the state. I'm like, we have record surplus. We have record rainy day. They're like, well, don't take as much property. We're not taking property tax at the state. That's local. And what happens is people's property values have gone up, and they've had to pay more and more. Even with homestead, it still goes up. And heaven forbid, you got to buy a new home because some people's jobs change. They got to move to a different part of town, different part of the state. Then their tax basis is way higher. So the question is you've seen a lot of bloat in budgets. Where's that money going to? And they'll say it's for things that we all agree on: education, public safety, first responders. But I can tell you there's a lot of stuff beyond that some of these governments are spending this tax dollars on. And so you absolutely can do property tax relief. And, people are saying that, why, if someone has, some investor is buying, why should they get a property tax? They don't need to. I mean, I think it should apply to Florida residents and their primary resident. Fine. If they want to tax the investors and use that, that's totally fine. But you either own your home or you don't. So I think this is all part of a process to show taxpayers there is relief available. Now, you're going to have to vote for it when it's on the ballot, and it's going to need 60%. It's not something that we can, that Jim Boyd can pass through the legislature and I sign, and then that's just how it is. That's not the way Florida's Constitution is structured. So just know we're working hard on this. There's going to be a good proposal. I know Ben Albritton and Jim and the other leadership team in the Senate are very, very interested in getting something in front of the voters. And so that will happen. But what they're going to say when that happens is, you can't reduce people's property taxes because we're not going to have schools, or we're not going to have public, and that's not true. And what DOJ is doing is it's showing some of the things that have been done, on local level. And look, not every local government, has done poor. There's some that have done good, and it's a variety. But I can tell you, if you look at the growth of these budgets over the last 3 or 4 years, it is not just because of public safety. or education. It's just not. I mean, there's more to it than that. And so, do you need to be spending $3 million on DEI consultants? Would you rather them spend it on that, or would you rather a property tax cut? Do you want them spending on some of the things that they're, and so we've been able, I think the Blaze leading it has been able to show, that there's a lot of different things. And I think there's going to be more and more to come. Now, we've also done through the state, even before these teams are going to local governments, we're doing the universities, we're doing state agencies, we're doing different things, and we're going to continue to do it because I think it's important. And we have found grants that states have pulled down federally that we sent back to feds. There have been other things that are going to need to be cleaned up as well. So this is not just unique to like a city government. I mean, the education bureaucracies are big. The universities are even. We've held the line on tuition admirably, but the reality is, these things grow. Now, we eliminated DEI. We're the first to do that a few years ago, and I think like on the surface they comply, but then some of them do it and they rename and they put it down. They do all this stuff. So it's constantly going through all this. So I think it's good. I think what Blaze is leading is good for taxpayers, and I think it's going to be able to produce an ability for us to be able to say, you can own your own home. We can do it in Florida. We can make all this work while meeting the priorities that we all agree on. But for some of the stuff that is not necessary, I'd rather that go to tax cuts. I'd rather that go to relief for property. And the thing is when you have home values rise like that, and it's not just in Florida. Like we may have had more because we had more authentic demand. People were fleeing these places, coming here, but they went up everywhere. And I don't think we've ever had a higher home value average compared to average income or median income. I mean, it is out of whack. It's hard to afford. And then you have the cost of these other things, insurance, you have the cost of property tax. Well, the one thing, we can't control the price of homes, but the one thing that government through the people can control is the taxation. That's purely a government function. That is not subject to market forces. That is within the control of the government. And what happens is your property gets assessed higher and higher. It's an unrealized gain. You haven't sold it for that much. They're just telling you it's worth that much. And guess what happens? When the market corrects, which it inevitably does, do they rush in to assess your property at a lower level? I don't think so. I don't think that, not that I'm aware of. So it's a one-way ratchet. And so you basically get stuck paying higher taxes. I think someone's personal residence, if it's homesteaded property, I think you got to be able to own it free and clear of the government. I think that is what living in a free state ultimately means. No income tax, and you can own your home free and clear without having to pay rent to the government. And I think it's totally doable. And also, because I have people will say, there's some of these people, they're buying all these homes and they're renting them out, all this stuff. Fine. Well, guess what? If the personal residence is tax-free and those can still be taxed, then it's a way to say we're putting a premium on individual family home ownership. It'll make it more attractive. It'll make the other stuff less attractive relative. So I think it would solve a lot of problems 100%. All right, thanks everybody.
Governor Ron DeSantis wrapping up after taking questions following a news conference in Hillsborough County at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office there, where he talked about law enforcement recruitment bonuses, more than $5,000 bonus checks coming to more than 700 law enforcement officers in Florida. It's $1.3 million in bonuses in Hillsborough County alone. You did hear him answer some questions as well. He was asked about his criteria for selecting the Lieutenant Governor, Jay Collins, who you saw standing beside him today after being sworn into office yesterday. You also heard him talk about the DOGE efforts from the CFO, Blaze Ngolia. Some folks taking exception to that. You heard the questions, some of the protests about that, but Governor DeSantis talking about what he believes to be the importance of that work and lauding the CFO for the work he is doing. We do expect to hear from Blaze Ngolia this afternoon, I believe in St. Pete, for another DOGE audit as those continue to expand across more localities across the state. I also want to give you a live look at this hour inside the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission meeting going on live now in Havana. That's in Gadsden County up near Tallahassee. This is a final hearing today, their final chance to review these proposed rules for what would be a regulated bear hunting season. A vote is also expected on this today. It is a 2-day meeting, but we do expect to see action on this today. It is on the agenda. In fact, right now they're hearing public comment. 168 people signed up to speak in public comment, each of them having 1 minute to speak. We've heard folks on both sides of this issue, a number of people talking environmental concerns, conservation concerns when it comes to bears. We've also heard a number of people saying, talking about the need for this to help with control the population, because it has certainly grown a lot since the state last had a bear hunt. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth is inside that meeting. She's going to step out and talk with us here in just a couple of minutes. So we're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus. And when we come back, we'll talk with her about what's going on inside this meeting. So keep it here on Fox Local, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Give you a live look inside that Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission meeting going on live now in Havana as public comment continues on the proposed rules for a what would be a bear hunting season that would begin later this year. Joining us live now via Zoom, live from Havana, Florida, is Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, who joins us outside this meeting. And Randy, we appreciate you joining us. It appears that there is quite the crowd in there for this meeting going on right now.
Yeah, a packed house. When we arrived here at the site where they're having today's meeting, the parking lot, the main parking lot was already full. So they directed us to another area to find parking. So just to give you a context of how many people have showed up for today's meeting, inside the main area where people are speaking and you're seeing a live look there, that area is full and there's an overflow room where they are directing people. And there's also maybe able to see it. Let me see if I can turn the camera. You see that tent area behind me. That is also a sitting area for people to sit and follow along with today's meeting. I don't see that many people outside, but I know that that overflow room was filling up. In terms of how many people have signed up to speak, I think we're looking at about 168. That's just a couple shy of how many people signed up to speak at that May meeting. And what you're seeing now, that live look, the people who are dressed in orange, those are people who are speaking in favor of the bear hunt. People who are getting up and are dressed in black, those are people who are speaking in opposition of the bear hunt. And we've heard a lot from both sides. It's almost evenly divided in terms of who is speaking, and people have gotten up and have been very passionate as commissioners prepare to, vote and take next steps with this.
What are some of the arguments that we're hearing from folks, Randy?
So yeah, when we talk about the people who, again, are in orange, who are showing up in favor of this bear hunt, a lot of them are pointing to the fact that we are seeing more human and bear interactions. And they are citing data that shows that there needs to be regulation on the black bear population in Florida. There was a map that was shown in the beginning of the presentation about areas across the country or states across the country that have a black bear population and have put in place measures to control the black bear population. Florida does not have that in place, but they pointed out that of the 6 states that don't do it, like Florida, that we have the highest black bear population. And so what has been presented is this could potentially be a way to manage a growing population. On the flip side, people who are against putting in place a black bear hunt, talk about have pushed back on human and bear interaction. Not saying that they are happening, but saying that humans are the reasons that we're having so many black bear interactions because we are developing in their homes, and so they have nowhere to go and they are displaced, and so that's why we're having interactions with them. And a lot of people have also brought up concerns about the methods used for this black bear hunt or the regulations, the guidance that's being proposed. One, they are expressing concerns that there is not enough clear data about whether or not we have a growing black bear population. They do a count, and we're still waiting on some numbers to come in for certain regions. And they also point to the fact that potentially hunters could use bait to lure in black bears and also use dogs to help with that hunt. And people say that that is just plain cruel.
Randy, how would, I know one of the things is we also saw a presentation this morning that talked a little bit about how this would work. For those who maybe haven't followed this too closely, what are some of those kind of highlights as far as how this would work if the proposed rules that are being considered today, are kind of passed as they exist now?
One, there would be a lottery in place for people to be able to participate in a potential black bear hunt. And there was some pushback on that too, because you have to pay to participate or have your name put into that lottery to see if you will be eligible to hunt. And even people who are in favor of black bear hunting, ask commissioners to consider tweaking that rule, because they say if you have a lot of money, put your name in there as many times as you want, and that increases the likelihood that you will be able to move forward and participate in the black bear hunt if it is passed. They also will have quotas or monitor the black bear population to set quotas each year, if this is passed, about how many black bears can be hunted. They are also regulating where people can hunt. So you just can't go out and if you see a black bear, potentially kill it. There's specific areas where this would be able to take place. So those are kind of the parameters moving forward. If it passes, they would have a certain time of the year that they would designate as the black bear hunting season, and based on each year, they would, let people know when that would happen. It's looking like moving forward, it will be between October and December if it passes this year. The first black bear hunting season in the last a couple years would happen in December. So moving forward, they will look to have this in place between October and December. They would let you know each year, but if it passes this year, it would be in December.
Last thing, Randy, and we saw a wide shot there a minute ago. It looks like a pretty even split, but I'm wondering, from you being inside the room, if you can tell kind of what side is in larger numbers here, whether that's those in favor or those against.
It's kind of hard to tell. As you said, pretty evenly split. The orange that you see, again, are people who are in favor of this hunt, and you see them on both sides, but you also see people who are in black who are against the black bear hunt sitting on both sides. I would say honestly it's split the beginning of the meeting, you heard from a lot of people who are in favor of the black bear hunt. I would say maybe the last 45 minutes, we've heard from more people who are opposed, but I think that's just, based on how people were signing up. And it's pretty similar to the last meeting where almost evenly split in terms of people who showed up for public comment on both sides. But I will point out, though, one of the things that people have emphasized who are getting up and speaking against this black bear hunt point to some numbers that were released during the presentation at last meeting that talked about, even though it split about who's speaking, they did a survey and 80% of the respondents said that they are against having a black bear hunt. So, even though it split about in favor and opposed, physically here for public comment, a lot of those who are opposed point to some of the research that the FWC did in preparation for this, pointing to the fact that a lot of people don't want this.
Well, it's certainly an issue, that, as you said, that people are passionate about. We know there's a big crowd out there, see those overflow tents behind you, and we certainly can hear the passion in some of those speakers as well. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, we appreciate you joining us this morning. We'll check in with you later this afternoon as well here on Fox Local.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Jessica Dobson joins me now. And Jess, I know a lot of talk about Tropical Storm Erin, although we still have a while till we know, what the exact impacts might be.
Yeah, and I was talking with Brooks earlier today, and I really think we can be, at this point, a little cautiously optimistic. Things can still change. I think it would be really dramatic. Something really dramatic would have to happen in terms of that change, but we're growing a little more confident that things are going to be turning away from the U.S. So likely at this point to be spared, but if that changes, we'll of course let you know. And we'll dive into the tropics here in just a moment, but I do want to talk about the heat, because we actually have a couple of heat advisories in place. Not for everyone, but for a couple of our counties, Marion and Flagler to be exact. That's going to be starting at 11 o'clock, so now, and it's going to last through about 7 p.m. And that's going to be the window of time of when the hottest, the most humid of the temperatures will be taking place. So that heat index is going to range from around 107 to as high as maybe 109. and that is going to be dangerously hot for some people. So it's just something to keep in mind if you're going to be spending time outdoors today. It's a good idea to drink the water, of course, and wear the sunscreen if you're going to be spending some time outside. As far as our actual air temperatures go, we'll make it to a high of around 94 degrees in Orlando specifically, and pretty much all of us will be in the low to mid 90s when it comes to those high temperatures. As far as rain chances go, in terms of helping to cool us off from that heat and humidity, they're going to be pretty scattered, very typical for what we would see this time of year. And as we look ahead towards the rest of the day, we are going to likely see just a couple of very isolated showers, most likely on the lighter side to get things going by about noon, 1 o'clock. And not everyone's going to see the rain today, and it's not going to be an all-day washout either, all afternoon. So I wouldn't cancel your plans because it's going to take a bit for some of these to work their way further inland. This is going to be largely due to the fact that we have an east and west coast sea breeze factor as we head over the course of this afternoon. So by 3 and 4 o'clock, we'll really start to see things blossom, and that's going to be due to the peak heating of the day, so the hottest of the temperatures. So looking at towards 6 o'clock, we have more of those downpours popping up. So heavy rain and frequent lightning can be expected with any of these downpours that get going. And then eventually they'll work their way further inland into the central inland areas of Florida. And we are going to be expecting these to gradually wind down, especially as we get closer towards, say, midnight and into 1 a.m. So overnight, we look to be mostly dry at this point. So as you wake up tomorrow morning, it's just going to be kind of rinse and repeat, meaning copy paste, more of the same, very hot and humid. All right, let's talk tropics. So because we do have tropical storm Erin still, and this is a view of our satellite, and also that tannish brown color you see is some Saharan dust. And we've talked about it before, but Saharan dust actually does help to limit the development of tropical systems. Usually it brings in drier air. We know that they thrive on moisture, and that's how they have to sustain themselves. So it does have some of that Saharan dust being infiltrated. But I will say, since this morning, it looks like it's been trying to get its act together a little bit more. And these systems can overcome the dryness from that Saharan dust. And at this time, that's what will likely happen. It's just going to likely maybe delay the development a bit in terms of how strong this gets and how quickly it does, because it's still expected to become a hurricane, and it's still expected to become a tropical, or excuse me, the first hurricane of the season, and then also the first major hurricane of the 2025 season as well in the Atlantic. So the latest update does show that it's going to be working its way almost due west, and that means that it's going to be encountering a much better environment. So some warmer waters that's going to be moving over, and that's going to help to really aid in the development and the strengthening of this. So it is going to be likely a Cat 1 hurricane by the end of this week, and we'll likely see it reach Category 3 strength sometime this weekend. I would say by the end of the weekend, maybe even as early as Saturday. But you start to see that cone. That's the cone of uncertainty, and I think it's really important to point out that the center of it is not where we expect the center of the storm to be, and the width of it is not how big we expect the storm to be. That's actually where the center of the storm, it could be as far north as the edge of that cone, or it could be as far south as the southern edge of the cone. So I think that's really important to keep in mind that there's some fluctuation, there's a range. So there are still some changes that could take place, but as of right now, things are looking a little bit better and a little more promising because we're still seeing some pretty consistent data, which is what we want to see at this point, that it's going to be taking that pretty sharp turn north. We have seen this with hurricanes in the past that say they're going to, and then they don't, or they don't do it quickly enough. But as of right now, things are looking like we're in pretty solid agreement that there will be an eventual turn to the north, likely working its way, almost due north to the Bermuda area. So that's going to be helping us out in terms of keeping the impacts to a minimum, likely just some rip current risks and also some large waves. We could see swell heights as high as, say, 6, 7, maybe even 8 or 9 feet at the beaches. So that's great surfing weather, but for rip currents, not going to be ideal. It's going to be pretty rough out there. But if that's what we have to deal with when it comes to this system, if that's the only impacts we have to deal with, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. But we'll let you know if there are any sort of sudden changes that might take place. But this is a pretty typical pattern for us to see, especially with a hurricane that's going to be on the stronger side, like this one could be as a major hurricane. And this is due to a couple of different things, but the general idea is the steering patterns. So this is going to be for early next week. We'll have a trough moving in from the north, so that's that cold front, and it's going to be helping to kind of shift it and push it further to the north and the northeast. We do have an area of high pressure as well. That's going to be across the Gulf, and that's going to be helping to kind of push it outward as well and away from the U.S. And it's really largely due to the fact that we have these steering patterns, of course, and just how strong they are, but we've been getting some pretty consistent data that it looks like things are going to be turning to the north, and things have been holding well consistently. Now, if we were in a situation where we'd be more concerned, it would be if these lacked consistency and if it was all over the place, and that would be something more concerning for us. But the reason why right now we're staying cautiously optimistic is because things have been pretty solid, pretty consistent, not throwing any sort of crazy ideas out there that we've seen so far. So we will take it, and we'll let you know again if anything changes or pops up. We will let you know and give you the latest. But as of right now, we're approaching the peak of hurricane season, so I feel like everyone should just be prepared regardless. But I will show you our 7-day forecast because it's going to be hot. Not as hot as what we saw in July, of course, but it's still going to be pretty toasty out there. So just make sure to drink your water. It'll be pretty dry on Friday too, only a couple of hit and miss showers and storms. So if you're going to get outside on Friday, it's going to be the hottest day of the week, 96 degrees, but you probably won't be able to tell too much of a difference between 95 and 96, but kind of pick your poison there. But as we head to the weekend, we'll see higher rain chances start to build back into.
All right, Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Jessica Dobson, we appreciate you joining us this morning. And as we go to break here on Fox 35 News Plus, going to leave you with this beautiful view from our Hard Rock Hotel camera looking at on Daytona Beach out toward the Atlantic. Keep it right here. More Fox 35 News Plus after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Last night was the first Brevard County School Board meeting since the superintendent there announced they did not have plans to rehire Melissa Calhoun. She is the teacher whose contract was not renewed after using a student's preferred name instead of their legal name without parental permission. Now, she went before a state board that ruled she will get to keep her teaching license. She does have some other penalties, some probationary period, a fine as well, but she does get to keep that teaching license. And the initial statement from the superintendent back when all this first happened was that the school district was not going to renew her contract because of the uncertainty surrounding that teaching license. Now, she did get to keep it, but the superintendent said that they don't plan to rehire her at this time. So yesterday at the meeting, last night, former students, parents, Melissa Calhoun herself, all pleaded with the school board to try to get her rehired. And there was a board member who defended her, made a motion to reconsider that decision of her hiring, but no member seconded that motion. I do want to play for you, as we heard from some who spoke at that meeting last night, including teacher Melissa Calhoun.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Rendell, and members of the community. My name is Melissa Calhoun, and I'm here to address item 9, instructional staff recommendations. I'm here before you tonight as a speech and debate coach, a mock trial coach, beta club sponsor, first priority sponsor, and peer mentor, as well as a BPS parent, and yes, a highly effective BPS instructor. It's my hope that tonight I can offer a sound reflection on the practice of education to both you and the 73 newly appointed teachers. Credibility matters. According to John Hattie, teacher credibility has an effect size of 0.9. In other words, it has a significant positive impact on student achievement. In the book Visible Learning for Literacy, it says the following about teacher credibility. Teachers can compromise their credibility when they violate trust, make a lot of errors, sit in the back of the room, and lack a sense of urgency. They compromise their credibility, particularly if they are not seen to be fair. Now, teacher credibility doesn't happen in a vacuum. It flourishes only in systems where leadership values, protects, and uplifts the profession. If we want these 73 newly appointed educators to become teachers of high impact, then they must be treated as professionals. That responsibility begins not in the classroom, but here at the district level. You set the tone, you shape the culture. We cannot build high-impact classrooms if our teachers fear that they, too, can be sacrificed on the altar of political ideology. We cannot promote excellence if we silence experience. So for these 73 teachers, I ask you to commit to transparency, commit to professionalism, and commit to protecting our teachers. You can begin this process by hosting a town hall. This would allow teachers, students, and parents to come together to speak openly and respectfully about the issues that plague our current system. It's a small step in repairing the trust with your veteran teachers. When those teachers feel safe, they are empowered to be marigold teachers and mentors to the 73 newly appointed instructors, as I was for our Emerging Teacher of the Year. Because ultimately, when teachers thrive, students succeed. And when leadership leads with integrity, credibility follows. Thank you.
Members of the public, I am Andrew Spar, an elementary music teacher and president of the Florida Education Association. I'm here to speak on item F9, instructional staff appointments. You know, this is a great time of year. You were just celebrating it. My own daughter, who's in 11th grade in Volusia County, just started school yesterday as well. This is a time of year when students get to meet their teachers. They get to see the teachers they had in prior years. And it is an exciting time where we should be celebrating all that is ahead. But unfortunately, I want to talk for a moment about someone who is not on this agenda and should be for reappointment, and that is Mrs. Calhoun. I'm wearing a button that says hate has no place. It's from the ADL, but the reality of it is hate has no place in our public schools. It should have no place in our community. We as teachers come into this profession because we care about kids. We want the best for every student. We want them to come into a classroom where they are seen, where they are loved, where they are supported, and where they get the education they deserve. I believe each and every one of you believe that as well, which baffles me as to why you decided to make a political decision rather than a decision that is best for students. I've watched the goalpost from afar move here. At first, it was we want to go through the investigatory process. Then it was we want to see what the state does. And when the state unanimously said, we are not going to take Ms. Calhoun's certificate, we are not going to suspend her certificate, you said if they did that, you would bring her back. And now the goalpost has moved again. Mrs. Calhoun has the right, has the qualifications, and more importantly, or most importantly, has the passion to teach in a county where she graduated. Yet the decision has been made to choose political motivation over students' need and purposefully misrepresent the facts in doing so. Ms. Calhoun should be on this agenda. Ms. Calhoun should be in the classroom. There is a vacancy at Satellite Beach High School that Ms. Calhoun should be in, and I would urge you to do the right thing and put students over politics. Thank you.
Ms. Campbell, Mr. Susan, Mr. Trent, Ms. Wright, to follow through with your commitments you made to the public during the April 22nd board meeting. We're on record, you all, in one way or another, came to the consensus that if the state votes to reinstate Ms. Calhoun's contract, then you would all be interested in having her back as a teacher in your district. At past board meetings, I pointed out what seemed to be you all as community leaders deflecting blame and refusing to take accountability for how this district treated Ms. Calhoun. But even then, I said to myself, maybe there is just another reason they haven't reinstated Ms. Calhoun. Now we're back at the same crossroad. And just to refresh, you said Ms. Calhoun could be reinstated if the state of Florida decided to reinstate her teaching certificate. And again, to refresh, they voted unanimously, meaning without opposition, to not terminate her teaching contract. This was a true testament to sticking true to advancing better education in the state of Florida. But then a couple days later, I read an article where the superintendent essentially rejects the idea of hiring Ms. Calhoun in a statement full of political rhetoric. I talked to so many community members about education and education policy. The one thing people can agree to, regardless of political background, is that political agendas have no place on the school board, period. So as a board, your main, if not one of the only staff you oversee, is the superintendent. You should be holding him to a higher standard if you want excellence. If you want excellence, you demand excellence of those in leadership. So now it's back to you on whether or not you're going to stand by your word, whether or not you're going to restore Ms. Calhoun, whether or not you're going to put the interest of the school district before any existing political agenda, or might score you extra points in a primary for higher office, Ms. Campbell. I mean, I know you've all seen how many open teaching positions you have. Fill the classrooms with teachers, not year-round substitutes or partial-time substitute teachers. I'm asking that you help take the right steps to restore a culture of collaboration, of respect, integrity, leadership, and professionalism. I'm asking you to put students before politics and to restore Ms. Calhoun today. Hold your superintendent accountable.
We'll be right back with more here on Fox 35 News Plus, so keep it here on Fox Local and YouTube.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I want to get you inside this meeting going on in Gadsden County right now, as a number of people are speaking, offering their public comment either in favor or against the proposed bear hunt. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission is reviewing the final proposed rules for what would be a 23-day bear hunting season. It would begin this winter, December 6th through 28th. 187 bear quota over 31 counties. It would be divided into 4 different hunting zones. Let's go ahead and listen in as the next speaker walks up to the podium to offer their public comment.
Allowing the killing of our iconic Florida black bear for pleasure, for the pleasure of killing, is reprehensible. The majority of Floridians deeply oppose this controversial and unnecessary trophy hunt. We all remember the last bear hunt. It was an unmitigated disaster. This is going to repeat itself. Mark my words, it will repeat itself. And it will be significantly worse if you allow the very cruel methods which are under consideration, which I understand to be cowardly baiting, merciless hounding, and the use of bloody, painful, high-powered arrows. Please vote no to this unnecessary hunt and the cruel killing methods that I have mentioned above. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next up is Donnie. No, Donnie, you're not Donnie. Okay. How about Kim? Good morning, Kim. Welcome.
Hang on one second. Thank you. My formal written comments were focused on the potential violations of Florida Statutes Chapter 120. It is an undisputed fact that FWC approved proposed rules on May 21st, 8 days before FWC published notice of development of rulemaking on May 29th. I suggest withdrawal of the proposed rules as published on June 13th and conducting properly noticed workshops. As it stands, there are numerous conflicts that have not been reconciled. I cannot give a course in statistics in 30 seconds, but in Central Zone, the bear population may actually be declining without a harvest. I ask that Central Zone be removed from consideration. Today, I honor your bear carcass 22822, an adult male that took your crash course in roadkill statistics and upon graduation gave his life to provide and promote use of scientific data. Bear 22822 would ask to use data rather than contrived models.
Thank you, Kim. Next up is Tina. Tina, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Florida black bears are not a safety threat to anyone who happens just to merely see them. If people are seeing bears in their neighborhood, then responsible actions should be taken to secure trash and bear attractants. That's been proven effective. Killing a bear is not necessary just because someone sees a bear. A bear hunt is not needed at this time or ever in Florida. So please do not let the emotional desire to hunt sway your vote. Please vote no to a bear hunt.
Thank you, Tina. Next up is Tristan. Good morning, Tristan. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. My name is Tristan Summer. I'm the legislative aide to State Representative Linda Cheney. I'm here on behalf of the representative to read a letter she sent regarding this matter. So, dear FWC Commission, I'm writing to you to oppose the bear hunt. However, if this commission wants to proceed with the hunt, I propose changes that you are currently contemplating to make the hunt more humane. The regulations of the 2015 hunt were more humane than what is planned now. So, if a bear hunt is imminent, I propose returning to the practices with improvements. The concerns of this current proposed hunt that hundreds of voters have brought to our attention, and I would like to recommend, are hounding, where a pack of dogs chases a bear to exhaustion, trap it up a tree to the confines of a tree, forcing the animal to plunge 30 to 40 feet to the ground and left to be shredded to a pack of dogs. Videos show that these bears are terrified and crying for help. And also, so therefore, if you insist on proceeding with the bear hunt, which the representative prefers you don't, I would recommend.
Thank you, Tristan. Understood. Gabriella, good morning.
I'm not anti-hunting. I actually helped develop a lionfish hunter course for scuba diving to help control the invasive species and protect the coral reefs. However, I keep hearing a lot of speakers point to science and data, and I am a scientist, and I have not seen any valid data to support a bear hunt. At most, Florida has had one fatality in the history of the state by a bear. Yet dogs kill an average of 3 Floridians a year, and even more people are killed by vending machines than bears. Okay? So black bears are not the threat. Fear is. While I acknowledge the importance of managing wildlife populations, allowing the hunt undermines FWC's own conservation success by reversing hard-won population gains and eroding public trust in science-based wildlife management. Instead, we should...
Thank you, Gabriel. Next up is Wendy. Wendy, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Wendy Kiefover, Humane World for Animals. The mean growth rate for Florida's bear subpopulations in 5 management units hovers between 2% for Ocala and 15% for Osceola. So at its maximum, for 1 unit only, Florida's growth rate is 15%. That means the 20% offtake rate or quota of 187 bears is unsustainable and has no basis in science or wildlife management. The goal seems to be to suppress the population. It's very simple math. Florida black bear data are a decade old, and the biologists who conducted those counts provided ample warnings about Florida's bears back then, before the ensuing loss of habitat in the last decade. Because of this, it makes even more sense for the FWC to apply the precautionary principle and stop the proposed hunt. It's a cruel hunt.
Thank you, Wendy. Next up is Samantha. Samantha, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Samantha Haggio, also here with Humane World for Animals. I'm speaking in strong opposition to the hunt for many of the reasons that have but wildlife conservation, which is meant to be grounded in sound science, hold wildlife in the public trust, and manage wildlife for the benefit of not just a tiny fraction of bear hunters or wealthy landowners. The vast majority of public comments have opposed this hunt, and if you ignore that overwhelming public opposition, it will further erode trust in this commission and make clear that this proposal is politically motivated, not biologically necessary. Given how controversial this proposal is, I really urge the commission to have a long, meaningful conversation about this hunt and weigh the gravity of what this proposal would actually allow. Bringing in practices both are not by the vast majority of bear hunting states is not responsible to state cruel.
Having some problems with our feed there, so we are going to go ahead and take another break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll come back and get you back inside that meeting as public comment continues. We'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Public comment continuing in Havana, Florida, as the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission discusses a proposed bear hunt. Let's go ahead and listen in. We'll go ahead and switch to the web feed live stream here because we're still having some glitches with our camera inside. Let's go ahead and listen in as this continues. Again, 168 people signed up for this. Still a number of speakers to go, and then we do expect action from the Fish and Wildlife Commission on this. So let's go ahead and listen back in. We will continue this past noon as it continues live here on Fox Local.
And it's as good as it gets. In North America, we have decades of success.
Okay, not sure what's wrong with that audio, but let's go ahead and we'll go back to this feed. I apologize for the audio problems with that live stream. Let's go ahead and get you back inside the meeting and see if our feed seems to be working a little bit better here.
Warriors United are asking each and every one of you to reconsider at the 11th hour. Do what's right. You don't want this to be your legacy. I'm not going to restate everything that has been said here because I have nothing new to add other than my dear friend Clay Henderson, who was part of creating the FWC, is opposed to the bear hunt. Not because we're bleeding hearts, we're conservatives for conservation. And to the bear plan, and we're ready to move forward, and we ask each and every one of you to do the right thing, as Theodore Roosevelt would have done when he it's not a sport. There's no beauty of getting a bear in a tree and then arguing over who's.
Thank you, Raquel. Next up is Bella. Good morning, Bella. Welcome.
Oh, good morning. My name is Bella. I'm 16. I care about academics deeply. I have 4.7. But my point here is, although I deeply care about school, I came here from Volusia, took my day off school to speak to you guys about this important issue. There's overdevelopment. Stripping bears of their habitat and then saying that there's an overpopulation of bears and killing them is not the right thing to do. I'm here to ask you to do the right thing by not supporting the bear hunt. Let's be realistic. These hunters aren't wanting to eat the bears, right? This isn't just a bear hunt. It's a bear trophy hunt. And the hunt is illegal and it's not based on science. I'm sure you guys would never try to do anything illegal. I'm sure you're just getting bad advice. But please, don't allow this hunt. I am the youth. Please don't steal an ecologically stable future from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bella. Next up is Ann.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Ann. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. I believe in fairness overall. I always have my whole life. So I'm concerned about the cruelty and inhumane treatment, as many people have already spoken about, with this proposed bear hunt. Even with the lottery of the alligator hunting that's allotted, my son was one that got the lottery ticket, I think, a couple times. There, with alligators, 1.3 million of them, or how many we have, there's 2 months that they're allowed to go and kill an alligator, and they have to do it with a bang stick. So humane treatment with an alligator. So I don't think that we are giving the fair playing field for these bears if there is going to be a hunt ever. The pythons, who are consuming all the kyrgyz, all the rabbits, 10 days of hunting. That should be concentrated on. That should be focused on, not the bears that are not overpopulating and not hurting anybody. Alligators attacks, that's different. FWC, I pray.
Thank you, Ann. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, I drove here from Miami. Thank you for listening. In the past, the bears were nearly hunted to extinction. As you know, in 2012, the bears were excluded from the threatened species list. New up-to-date data will not be available till 2029 for the commissioners that are not trophy hunters or not mass land developers. Please note, this isn't a deer hunt, it's not a duck hunt, it's a trophy hunt. That is not what the FWC is about. Please don't let the few make the decision for you. Please allow discussion and questions at the end, unlike what happened in Ocala. Thank you, Commissioner Hudson, for standing with the Bears and voting no, like Ron Bergeron. And also for the hunter that got up and said, no matter how you vote, he's still going to do it anyway. I think you should pay attention to that one guy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wesley. Next up is Karen. All right. No Karen? Katrina. Good morning, Katrina. Welcome.
Hey there, when we conserve water, we save it, we don't kill it. So true bear conservation is about saving bears and their habitat. My organization, Bear Warriors United, has donated more money and spent more money than any group in this room, and definitely more than any group asking to kill the bears. We've spent several hundred thousands filing lawsuits to stop development, which would have destroyed bear habitat. We've also spent over $100,000 distributing over 36,000 handmade bear straps, over 9,000 of these bags, over 120,000 pieces of educational literature teaching everyone to peacefully coexist. We would like special consideration, and we would like to continue to keep working with the FWC on true bear conservation, because we do not need blood money to save the bears. We need programs like this, and we hope you vote no on this bear hunt.
Thank you, Katrina. Next up is Lexi. Lexi, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. The Florida black bear has fought its way back from near extinction, from 500 in the 1970s to only 4,000 today. But this recovery is fragile. Bears aren't confined to just half their historic range in 8 isolated patches of habitat. They face road deaths, shrinking forests, and reduced genetic diversity. Yet, despite these challenges, some propose hunting them with arrows or by chasing them with dogs. Let's be clear, this is not wildlife management. It is cruelty. An arrow does not bring instant death, and it can leave a bear to suffer for hours, and dogs drive terrified bears for miles, exhausting and mauling them before a fatal shot. Our responsibility is to protect Florida's wildlife, not subject it to needless pain. Habitat loss, not bear numbers, is the real issue. We must focus on corridors, forest protection, and coexistence, not methods that cause suffering to an already vulnerable species. Thank you.
Thank you, Lexi. Next up is James. James Scott, going once. Oh, there you go.
There's a delay on the TV outside, I apologize. Commissioners, good afternoon. My name is James Scott. So those of us that have a science background on this side of the room are opposed to the hunt. All that can be said about the science has been said. We disagree with it. But what I wanted to say in the few moments that I have here before you is my representative, Linda Cheney, had her aide come here today to speak to you all. And he got cut off at the end, and I asked him before he left, what was the rest of what she wanted to say? And hounding, baiting, and archery are things that Representative Cheney has asked that you remove from the rules. And this is not a partisan issue. And the rules, if you are going to adopt them, they don't have to be done as you have them written before you today. There's a lot of disagreement about the rules. I believe you should cap the number of applications, so that way there's more equity and access for the average hunter. But folks like Linda Cheney, she's a very reasonable, rational gal, and my representative, and I hope that you take her words of advice and take out hounding and baiting and archery at a minimum. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Next up is Troy. Troy, good morning, or no, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The Florida's black bear story is one of survival. In the 1970s, they were nearly wiped out. Decades of protection by this agency brought them back to only 4,000. But that comeback is fragile. They now live in only half of their historic range, cut off into 8 small pockets of habitat, dodging cars, losing forest, and fighting to find food and mates. And yet, there's talk of hunting them, with arrows or by setting packs of dogs loose to chase them down. Picture it, a bear, terrified, running for miles with dogs snapping at its heels, or struck by an arrow that doesn't kill instantly, wandering off to die slowly and in pain. That is not management, that is cruelty. Our wildlife deserves better than suffering for sport. The real threat to bears isn't their numbers, it's the loss of the wild places they need to survive. We should be building wildlife corridors and protecting forests, not turning back the clock on decades of recovery. Please, stand against cruelty, stand for conservation, protect Florida's black bears. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. Next up is Casey. Good afternoon, Casey. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Many, if not most people in this room call themselves Christians. The Bible teaches that all living creatures are made by God and deserve our respect. In Genesis 1:26, God gives man domain over the animals, but dominion is not permission to harm without cause. In Proverbs 12:10, the righteous care for the needs of their animals, showing that God values kindness and stewardship. Psalm 24:1 says, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it," meaning that wildlife is not ours to exploit, it belongs to God. In Genesis 9:3, God says, "Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you," but this is permission for necessity, not cruelty or waste. Even Deuteronomy 22, God commands compassion towards animals when taking from nature, showing that even when man hunts or harvests, it must be done ethically and with care. Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us there is a time for everything. So there is a time to hunt, but there is a time now to protect and preserve.
Thank you, Casey. Our last speaker on this topic will be Kelsey. Is there a Kelsey? Raise that up so we can, yeah. All right, Kelsey.
Hi, my name is Kelsey and I'm 9 years old. I care a lot about Florida's black bears, and I don't think we should hunt them. But if we have to, it should be done in the most humane way possible. That means no arrows and no dogs. When hunters use arrows, the bear keeps running confused and scared. That's not a kind way to treat any animal. Using dogs to chase bears is not fair either. The bear is forced to run and hide while being followed by barking dogs with no chance to rest or feel safe. Bears are part of Florida's wild family. They help our forests, and they deserve to live without being chased or hurt for sport. Please say no to hunting with arrows or dogs, so future kids like me can see them in the wild and be proud they're still here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, that is our final speaker on this topic.
Okay. You there? You got me? Yeah? George, I think you may want to come up. I'm sure I saw a bunch of commissioners taking notes. Who wants to start? I'll start. How's that? George, help me out, because we heard from a lot of folks that the data is not updated. It's outdated. So can you correct the record?
Certainly.
You can call on whoever you
Chairman,
want.
yeah, this is where we have the panel of our folks from each of our divisions.
Sure.
I'm going to look to Gil McCrae to answer that question for you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, am I on? So there, as George said in the presentation, there are two techniques that we use to assess bear population. One is the genetic work that we do with the hair snares that we do every 10 to 12 years. That is the population abundance estimate. We are in the process of renewing all of those BMU's population abundance estimates. Not all of them have been updated. But the important part is the other technique we have in between those population estimates are multi-year tagging studies that give us the survival and reproductive rates for each BMU. And it's that modeling that tells us whether the population is increasing, stable, or decreasing. So the combination of those two things, one, it can be 10 to 12 years apart. The other is multi-year in that gap. That informs what we know about each of these BMU populations. And we're not going to have, on a population as widespread and as the black bear in Florida, we're not going to be able to do the entire state every year. So there's some implied delay in some of the data, but we make up for that by using these two different techniques that we believe are complementary and paint a comprehensive picture of.
So the statements from speakers that the data is not complete, we should wait for the data. You feel comfortable that what you, staff, is presenting to the commission is up to date and current?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if we just had that old 2015 population number without the growth rate information, I would say we should be a little cautious, but having both makes me more confident.
Okay, all right. There was, again, we heard at the last meeting, and we heard it again this meeting, that someone from our staff said, hey, we don't need a bear hunt. We don't need to do anything. Just leave it alone. So I know that statement's been taken out of context. Could someone clarify it? You may want to state your name.
Yeah. So, thank you, Chairman. This is Melissa Tucker. I'm Director for the Division of Habitat and Species Conservation, and that presentation was one of my division's presentations by Mike Orlando. Standard language at the end of a staff report, and that was a staff report to update the commission on the first 5 years of the revised bear management plan, is typically to say that we don't have any actions, but your input is welcome, and that's just what Mike stated at the end. We weren't speaking about bear hunting, so there was no discussion within that presentation one way or another about bear hunting.
Okay, I'm fully aware of that. And as chairman, we get numerous reports from our staff, and they will say at the end of their presentation, no action needed. And it's just a way of ending the presentation. So I want the public to be aware of that. It was not that they were saying no action needed for a bear hunt or no action needed on the bear issue. It was just no action needed. So I just want to kind of clarify that.
Chairman, I'll be, and to put some more specifics behind that, we were not asking for a vote from the commission. There wasn't something to vote on, but rather a presentation of materials for you to give staff feedback on how to move forward.
Thank you. And then we've had numerous speakers raise the issue of checkpoints. And if there is a bear hunt, why isn't there a checkpoint? So can someone address that?
Yeah, Chairman, I'll start, and I'll ask Morgan with Hunting and Game Management to fill in anywhere that he'd like. So if we go back to 2015, we had a week-long hunt, and we had no way of taking any virtual or digital check-in information. Many states were starting that process. We were a little late to the all species like turkey. Within the FWC's managed acres. So one of the things that our staff have prided themselves on working through the commissioners is constantly adding acreage to our wildlife management areas and our natural areas in the state, and we'll continue to expand that.
No, and I think that's important to note. And I'd like to get a comprehensive report for the public on what we've done. Not only, because I remember when Governor Bush appointed me to this commission. Governor Bush, that in his term, procured over 1,500,000 acres that he protected for public use and for the public. I believe, and I don't have the number, but I believe Governor DeSantis has beat Governor Bush on the amount of land that he's overseen the purchase of for the public. So if we can get a report on that, I think it would be very important to the public. And remember, we're procuring land in the wildlife corridor. We're procuring land all over the state of Florida. Some of those lands we manage because when they're bought, when the governor and his cabinet approved the approval of buying the land, it gets doled out. Either it's a water management district that manages it, it's either the Department of Forestry, or it's the Fish and Wildlife. So we don't have 100% management of those lands, but we do regulate the hunting and fishing on a lot of the different lands and lakes and so on and so forth. So a comprehensive kind of like historical from all the different governors, let's go back as far as Governor Bush, Governor Chris, Governor Scott, and then Governor DeSantis would be great, just to see what they've done.
Yes, sir, we'll do that, and it'll be a great opportunity to highlight. We have an entire program within the agency of biologists and land acquisition agents that work very hard every day at this, so that'll be something that we're happy to bring.
I mean, I have a lot more things I want to make a point on or raise an issue of, but I'm going to kind of defer to commissioners if they want to jump in, and so that everybody's participating. Commissioner Lester.
Yeah, again, and I don't want to cut off any discussion or questions that people have, but I do want to, again, thank the citizens for their input. I want to thank staff for doing a fantastic job, the biologists and all the folks that have come up with good, solid science for us to follow. And I would go ahead and put it on the floor to move final adoption of the rule.
Okay, well, there's a motion on the floor to approve. Is there a second? I'll second. Okay, seconded by Commissioner Ferrer. Under discussion. So any questions for staff?
It sounds like we have a microphone issue there. So the question from Commissioner was, does the use of dogs for hunting start in 2027? And that's correct. There would be a delayed implementation to allow for training and the acquisition of equipment.
That's correct, Commissioner. So in 2026, they'd be allowed to train dogs during the already established dog training seasons in the state. And in 2027, they would then be allowed to use dogs to pursue and take bear.
Okay, Commissioner, Vice Chair, you have any questions? Commissioner Cotton? Okay, I have a couple more. With respect to hunting as a tool, I was so glad to see the former executive director, or he's retired executive director, Dan Forster from Georgia here. Dan has been a longtime friend of Florida. We share a lot of information back and forth with Georgia, helping each other along the way. So talk to me about, George, on the tool of hunting, and how does that help keep the herd healthy? This is not, expand upon that a little bit.
Certainly. Yeah, as outlined in our bear management plan, hunting is one of the tools that can be used to manage populations. And in this case, what we presented today, it's used to manage bear populations over time so that there's predictability in the growth or stabilization or even decline in our bear populations. So our wildlife biologists can act accordingly ahead of any more dangerous or hard to recover from things like overpopulation. And so it's another tool in a biologist's tool belt. And then we heard a lot of people talk about the North American model of wildlife conservation. One of the tenets is hunting to be used, and there are hunters that would like access to that resource. So it provides fair and equitable access to those hunters looking to have access to a sustainable resource while giving that tool to the wildlife biologist to be able to manage populations carefully over time with predictability that can help them do their job.
Okay, so I think I appreciate that answer, and I think the public should be really aware of some of Florida's successes. Like the American alligator is an incredible success story for Florida. The manatees are an incredible success for you. I got to tell you, the manatees are the largest herd it's ever been in Florida's history. I was proud to chair the commission that implemented all the manatee zones throughout Florida. When I came on the commission, there was only one county in the whole state that had the manatee zone. It was Miami-Dade. And then we implemented statewide. In fact, Brevard County was the holdout. You know how we got Brevard County to the table? We would not issue any boat docks for them. So they had to finally implement a manatee protection zones in Brevard County, and then they finally were able to receive boat docks for the boating public. So I think, you know, Florida has done a yeoman's job. We don't get enough credit. Wild turkeys are at the highest level they've always ever been. They're almost extinct nationwide. I got to get hats off to the Wild Turkey Federation. I see the COO of Ducks Unlimited here. The duck population throughout America and including Canada are at its highest level ever through the Ducks Unlimited efforts. And Nick Wiley, who is our former executive director, see, there's promise for you after this, okay? Nick Wiley is doing an incredible job with Ducks Unlimited. And so I just kind of, I want the public to know that this is not like a run and gun, and, you know, we make decisions based upon science. We look at our professional staff. Look at our professional staff with over 100-something years of professionalism right here, telling us that you brought this forward. And by the way, someone accused us of managing the process, re-engineering it the other way. We didn't direct staff to go do a bear hunt. You came to us with this opportunity, correct? Go ahead, answer.
Yes. So we've heard comments from people throughout time on bear hunting. In the December 2024 meeting, we had directions from commissioners to look at options for a hunt. Staff and our experts that you see here today, wildlife biologists, wildlife managers, our attorneys, law enforcement officers, all of our professionals sat down and came up with bear hunting options that are highly regulated and can be beneficial to our bear populations in Florida and Floridians, and presented that to you.
Okay, but if the facts weren't there to present us with options, you would not be presenting us with an option of hunting if it wasn't there, correct?
That's correct. We're very confident in the sustainability of this hunt.
Okay, that's the point I wanted to make. Anyways, I just want to congratulate staff. I know this has been a lot of hard work. There's professional. I mean, people don't realize that most states look at Florida, look at what we're doing, and they kind of emulate or call us and ask us for our advice and expertise. So with that, if anybody has any other comments, anybody? No? So there's a motion on the second on the table. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so it passes unanimously. All right? Got it? Anybody surprised?
Chair,
Okay.
just a quick check-in with legal. Make sure we've recorded all of those. Everything good? Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, let's take a lunch hour. Lunch hour, we'll be back in an hour. Hour and a half. Hour and a half.
All right, you hear the response and the reaction there after Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission approves the rules for a proposed bear hunt. After hours of public comment this morning from nearly 200 speakers there. Let's go ahead and get you now. President Donald Trump is continuing to speak at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. He is now taking questions from reporters after just a little bit ago announcing some of the Kennedy Center honorees, which include George Strait, Sylvester Stallone, and several others as well. Let's go ahead and listen in.
That we're powering through it, and we have the greatest economy maybe we've ever had. But the housing sector, people aren't able to get good mortgages. They're paying too much because of Jerome Too Late Powell. He's truly incompetent, and we'll be making another. We put a very good man in temporarily in the one spot because one of the people that was appointed by the Democrats left early, and I heard left because that person wanted lower interest rates, and I heard quit, but I have no idea. I'm sure she won't say that. I'll be naming a new chairman sometime within the next. I think I'll name it a little bit early, the new chairman. I'm down to 3 or 4 names, all good, all great. The problem is you name them and then they turn out to be not good. That's happened to me a couple of times. You name somebody, they tell you everything you want to hear, and then they go in and they turn out to be not good. I mean, he told me everything that I thought was appropriate. He turned out to be a stiff, real stiff. But other than that, I think he's doing a very good job, yes. Okay, maybe one or two more. One or two more. Yes, sir, please. Go ahead.
Mr. President.
Looks like Scott Bessent. Are you the Treasury Secretary?
You don't want me for Treasury.
I don't know. You look like you could do a good job. Go ahead.
I keep my family budget okay. Sir, when you meet with Vladimir Putin Friday in Alaska,
yeah,
do you believe you can convince him to stop targeting civilians in Ukraine?
Well, I'll tell you what. I've had that conversation with him. I've had a lot of good conversations with him. Then I go home and I see that a rocket hit a nursing home or a rocket hit an apartment building and people are laying dead in the street. So I guess the answer to that is no, because I've had this conversation. I want to end the war. It's Biden's war, but I want to end it. I'll be very proud to end this war along with the 5 other wars I ended. But I guess the answer to that is probably no, because I would have had a good conversation with Vladimir. I knew him very well. I got along with him great, actually. We had I had to go through the Russia hoax. And it was actually, it was a strain on the relationship. I actually told him, I said, they got this phony investigation going on, Russia, totally phony, created by Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, and Hillary Clinton and the whole group of them. And it made it very dangerous for our country because I was unable to really deal with Russia the way we should have been. I'm looking at Pam because I hope something's going to be done about it. These people put our country at great danger. And Adam Schiff, it was all made up. It was a hoax. The Mueller report came out. They all hated me. They had 18 Trump haters. And they said I did nothing wrong. They couldn't believe, they couldn't find anything. After years of investigation, it was all a hoax. It was a hoax created by the Democrats, but in particular Schiff and Crooked Hillary, the whole group. And now we've learned all the stuff that's come out over the last 2 months is incredible through intelligence. And hopefully something's going to happen with it. These are people that put our country in danger, in real danger. I want to thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have the most active attorney general in the country over the last 4 or 5 months, James Uthmeyer. You look at chief financial officer. This is like
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I want to get you straight in to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, where Governor Ron DeSantis and Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins are speaking to reporters right now. DeSantis was there to talk more about law enforcement recruitment bonuses. He just began taking questions, answering the first question right now. It was about the kind of what he looked at and the criteria for selecting Jay Collins as Lieutenant Governor. He made that appointment yesterday. Collins was sworn in. DeSantis saying he wanted someone who would not shy away from the fight. And so let's go ahead and listen in as Governor DeSantis speaks live right now in Tampa.
It's going to be very exciting. Well, Casey DeSantis' thoughts have always been people have asked her to do things because they know she's a dynamic speaker, very eloquent, very accomplished. But I said at the beginning when people were doing that, that's not anything she's has ever outwardly sought. She's really happy making a difference. And when we just did the cancer announcements with massive funding for pediatric cancer research, so I don't think it's necessarily change anything with her per se. But I think from the beginning until now has always been a lot of people hey, can you get her to do it? Can you get her to do it? Kind of deal. She just wants the state to do well. She wants to see continued success on overhauling how we approach helping people in need, which she's been a pioneer in, continuing to do things to help school children, to help moms, really, really important. But I don't think anyone who's been in that position has made more of an impact than she has. And I will tell you, yesterday, after going through all that, she was really, excited.